I remember at one point when I owned my business, which was a political consulting and issue advocacy strategy business, I was paying taxes in like 6 states at one point. It was a lot of paperwork, but you want the best talent. And in the modern workforce, talent is everywhere. If you've ever hit that moment where growing globally felt exciting, but hiring international talent gets complicated, it's not just knowing where and who you want to hire. It's about keeping everything in the country and in your paperwork and in your management running smoothly as you scale. And that's where Pebble comes in. Pebble makes global hiring simple. Through embedded compliance and AI driven workflows, the Pebble platform takes the delays and guesswork out of going global. So founders and HR leaders can move fast without adding risk and complexity. Here's the bottom line: anywhere to hire is possible with Pebble. With global hiring simplified, founders and HR leaders can spend their time focusing on what and where comes next for their business. And I have a special offer for my listeners. Pebble is normally $399 a month per employee, which is a no brainer for what you get when you're hiring with all that complexity. But right now, there's a limited time offer on their site that makes it even easier to get started. Go to hipebble.ai before it's gone. That's HIPEBL.ai. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Maura Aarons-Mele, and this is The Anxious Achiever. Today, my guest on the show is the famed investigative journalist, Jodi Kantor. I would say that Jodi and her reporting partner, Megan Twohey, are best known for breaking the Harvey Weinstein story and changing the world with a global reckoning around what came to be known as Me Too. But Jodi has been reporting on the workplace for decades and the digitization of the workplace and what that does to our humanity, to our financial stability, and to our society. Here today, though, she's got a message of hope and practicality. It's based on her incredible commencement address at Columbia College from last year, 2025, given in the midst of so much turmoil, so much uncertainty, and especially at Columbia, a campus erupted in disagreement and anger and chaos because of Israel and Gaza. And what Jodi told students is the subject of her new book, How to Start: Discovering Your Life's Work. And it's what we talk about today. Jodi wants students to find and hone their craft and match that with a need in the world. Craft is big. To me, craft is a way of living, it's a way of being, and it's a value. Craft takes time, and as Jodi points out, it is deeply enjoyable to practice a craft that you love. In my interviews with what I call atypical achievers, people who manage mental illness or who are neurodivergent, it is craft that makes the difference between thriving and struggling in a world that isn't built for you. Your craft is the special and unique skill that you bring to the world that has a very powerful application in the world. And as Jodi points out, it could be being a surgeon, it could be being a great TV writer, it could be being an incredible hairdresser, it could be being a podcaster. Craft is big. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jodi Kantor, New York Times journalist, best-selling author, and one of my heroes. Well, Jodi, I'm so honored and excited to have you on the show. You are one of my living heroes, and I'm sure you actually, yeah, you are. And I'm sure you hear that a lot, I'm sure you hear that.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I mean, investigative journalism is like mostly unglamorous, hard work. But listen, it's my craft. I believe in it. It yields results. It still yields results now, despite everything. And yeah, I mean, it's an honor to do this work. Like with the Weinstein investigation, it was really an honor from the very first phone call. And I
Mhm.
just, I'm a believer. I believe in its potency and impact. So that makes, anyway, that is really lovely of you to say.
Well, it's true. And I want to talk about craft today. It's a big theme in your book. Um, it's a big theme on this show. It's a big theme in my work with leaders who are neurodivergent or have mental illness. I call them atypical achievers.
Mm-hmm.
They thrive in workplaces that aren't meant for them when their craft comes first. So craft is super, super, super important. Um, I want to start, though, talking about hope. Because you mentioned hope. I think your new book is very hopeful. Why should young people and the parents of young people have hope now? And and do you have hope? I mean, you have covered some of the worst human behavior
Mm-hmm.
for decades. How do you think about hope?
So I think journalism, and especially investigative journalism, is super hopeful, which I know may be a surprising thing to say, given that we often write about painful and traumatic things. Megan Twohey and I
Mm-hmm.
broke the Harvey Weinstein story in 2017. But the reason I find it so hopeful is that telling the story is the first step to addressing anything. When people can share, when we can understand the facts, that means we're in a position to do something about it. It's the first step to repair, to change, to growth. So that is part of why I'm an investigative journalist. Should young people have hope now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my book is this answer. I wrote this book because a group of students, not this entire generation, as you know, has challenges. These students were really challenged. These were Columbia students who were in the thick of the chaos there.
So you gave the commencement address at Columbia College a year ago.
Mhm.
Explain why that was a challenging invitation.
Well, it was an honor to be invited, of course, but it was also kind of a bad offer, to be honest, because this was during the turmoil at Columbia. And I mean, you remember just the total toxicity there. And my friends from college tried to stop me from giving the speech. They were like,
Hmm.
you're going to get booed. They were like, call in sick.
Mm-hmm.
But something in me was like, give me those kids. Because as an alum and as a mom, I was just so upset at how negative everything had gotten. And I wanted to give the kids something good. So I said, okay, very honored, I'll do it. But I need to spend some time with the students beforehand because this is obviously a room I need to read very
Mm-hmm.
carefully before getting up on that podium. And so I got on a Zoom with the students and they gave me an incredible assignment. They said, we don't want to talk about Gaza. We don't want to talk about Israel. We don't want to talk about President Trump. We don't even want to talk about the university administration we all hate. Our question is, our entire class, despite our political differences, were united in one question, which is, how do you find and start your life's work in this crazy environment? And the
Mm-hmm.
question just gripped me, Maura. I mean, I knew it was a great question and a generational question. I knew that for three reasons. Because I had a 20-year-old, and this was all she and her friends were talking about. Number two, I had traveled from campus to campus for years. Megan and I were invited to a lot of campuses after we broke the Weinstein story. And we saw this rising feeling of frustration, fear, trepidation about the workplace among young people. It was like they were giving up before they had even started. And the response was a rational one, but I was still very worried about it. And then the
Mm-hmm.
third reason is that I had reported on the workplace for years and years. And, in addition to gender stuff and the Weinstein story, I had seen the coming technological transformation of the workplace. I had seen like a kind of digitization of work that was very tough on people. And so I felt like I understood something about the current moment. So I gave the speech. And
Mhm.
we're getting back to your hope question here. I gave the speech, and part of the assignment of a commencement address is that you have to be uplifting. I mean, you
Right. You
can't.
can't bum the audience out totally.
Oh my God, you've like failed and ruined everybody's graduation day if you do that. And so the students really gave me like a fabulous assignment, which is how do you make a case, how do you make a case for some sort of grounded optimism during this
Mhm.
extremely difficult time? So that's what I did. And it turned into this book, How to Start. Do I want students or young people to have blind hope? No, I mean, of course not. Like, I'm a news reporter. Like, I've devoted my life to, being cognizant of what's going on around us. However, I don't want them to feel sentenced
Mhm.
or doomed to have bad work lives. I don't think that's true. I think they have agency still. I
Mhm.
think work can still be a route to satisfaction and happiness and success. And the question I want to work on with them is, what does a productive and positive response look like to this
Mhm.
toxic environment?
I really want to go deep on craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I find I'm using the word craft more and more. I write a lot about AI anxiety, which
Mm-hmm.
is something, as you said, that you've been covering. I remember your story on Amazon work. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I remember your story on Amazon workers. I also believe you wrote a story on Starbucks workers. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
On clopening, the
Yeah, I
phenomenon
can't believe you
of
remember that.
that story is I study workplace practice and social safety at work. Talk about I want to dive into craft and get really practical, but I want to talk about what the changes that you've seen in the workforce that have really robbed people of their agency, of their trust, from clopening, you can explain what that is, to Amazon and the trends.
Yeah,
And of course, Me
totally.
Too, like all of these phenomena, it's really hard to trust.
Well, let's talk about the digitization of work in particular,
Mm-hmm.
because what we're seeing now with AI, I feel like I've been watching the roots of that for a very long time. So here's a story I reported 10 years ago, but why it's relevant still now.
Mm-hmm.
If you worked an hourly job in the past, decades ago, the way scheduling worked is some manager sat down and said, okay, Maura, you're on from 4 to 10 on Tuesdays or
Right.
whatever. The schedule was like a grid that stayed fairly consistent and predictable. Around 10 years ago, almost all hourly jobs started using algorithmic scheduling to determine when workers would report to work.
Mm.
From a work and efficiency perspective, it was brilliant because they could move people through time and space and anticipate weather events and, see when there would be a parade in town. So they could say, okay, we're going to have like our people pinpointed in the right place at the right time. What that meant in effect is that workers started getting their schedules only a day in advance, and they were different all the time. There was like no
Oh my God.
pattern to the way you worked during the week, and you could get assigned these crazy hours. That's where the phrase clopening came from.
Mm-hmm.
Clopening was worker jargon for when you have to close the store. This was at Starbucks at 11 p.m. one night, and then you have to be there at 4 or 5 in the morning the next day to open the
Wow.
store. It's completely exhausting. So I wanted to write about the effect that this was having on workers' lives. So I met this Starbucks worker in San Diego, and I wrote about what algorithmic scheduling was doing to her
Mm-hmm.
life, and it was tearing it apart. I mean, she was a single mom with a young child. Her name was Jeanette Navarro. And like making a doctor's appointment
Right.
or arranging childcare became impossible. And it was this kind of like hidden invisible force, but it was everywhere. So
Mhm.
anyway, that story I think is relevant now because more and more of us are learning what it's like to be managed by technology or through technology in some way. And
To have no agency, right? No
well, I don't know
agency.
that, I mean, I don't know that, I don't know that I would say no agency, but less and less. Like
Right.
only I think in 2022, I wrote a story about white collar workers being subject to like productivity tracking. And
Mhm.
I found that in a lot of fields you wouldn't expect now, workers have to earn productivity points. Like I found hospice chaplains who were seeing people through death who had to monitor their productivity points for the week. So it's not that those people had no agency, but they were losing it. And for me, there was like a real relationship between the Starbucks workers from 10 years ago and the
Right.
hospice chaplains now, because when you're more
Right.
educated or you make more money, you think you are free from these forces, but you're really not.
You're
So
really
then
not.
let
As the meta news, right, this week or last week is showing about,
totally. And
yeah.
so then let's talk about something that's happening now that is, I'm sure some listeners have experienced and is very much on people's minds, which is that hiring has been digitized. Like, do
Mm,
we know what AI is going to do to the workforce or entry level work? No, we don't know the answer yet. It's a little early in the game. I can tell you right now, hiring is getting more and more digitized. And the result is that applying for a job is a very sterile, lonely process. I mean, it's always been anxiety inducing to look for work, but we
yeah.
think of it as a social experience that involves like handshakes and coffees and introductions, sparks of conversation. Now there are digital job listings. There are these kind of like portals where students look for jobs. They see these
Hmm.
listings. Some of them are ghost listings, meaning the companies keep them up even though the position doesn't really exist. Resumes and cover letters are often scanned by AI now. And then first round interviews
Hmm.
are becoming more and like they're becoming AI led. I have talked to a
Wow.
ton of graduating students who are having interviews not with people, but with AI. And you can imagine what they're saying about it. They're finding it really dehumanizing.
That's right.
And uh, so part of the goal of the book is like when I was writing it, and I'm doing these events now, they're listed at jodikantor.com if you want to come. We've got DC on April 28th, LA and Philly in May. I'm trying to make these events and I'm trying to make everything about the book as human as possible, because all of us, not just me as a book author, but all of us need to counteract the degradations of this environment.
Chime is changing the way people bank. They offer the most rewarding fee free banking. It's fee free banking built for you, not like traditional old banks that charge you overdraft and monthly fees. Why pay to get your own money? Chime members can benefit from up to $1,150 in annual rewards. Fee free. Chime is rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service with real humans 24/7. You're not just switching banks, you're upgrading to America's #1 choice for banking. Get a Chime checking account. You get savings that grow faster with 3.75 APY. That's 9 times higher than the national average. Plus, you can get premium travel perks like airport lounge access and 24/7 travel concierge included with your Chime card. My younger self would have really benefited from this. And I think about all of the money that I've spent for all these years paying to use my own money. Chime isn't just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. So join the millions who are already banking fee free today. Just head to chime.com/achiever. That is chime.com/achiever. It just takes a few minutes to sign up.
Chime is a fintech, not a bank. Banking services for MyPay and Chime Card provided by Chime's bank partners. Optional products and services may have fees or charges. Stated annual percentage yield and cashback for Chime Prime only. No minimum balance required. Checking account ranking based on a J.D. Power survey published October 20, 2025. For more information on APY rates, MyPay, SpotMe, and travel perks, go to chime.com/disclosures.
There is something so compelling and fun and mesmerizing about live shopping. Whatnot is the largest dedicated live shopping platform. Whether it's beauty, collectibles, electronics, luxury fashion, even cookies, sellers are building real, thriving businesses. Anybody can sell, whether your business is big, small, or even yet to exist. Whatnot buyers spend more than an hour a day in the app. And they're not just browsing, they're engaged, buying, coming back to their favorite sellers. You go live, you show off products in real time, and turn what you love into real income. So, download the Whatnot app today and get free shipping on your first order. Just search Whatnot, that's WHATNOT, in the App Store and start scoring amazing deals. I know a lot of my beloved listeners are in perimenopause or menopause, and you feel bloated. Physician's Choice is the probiotic for you because better health starts in the gut. And that's why I want to tell you about Physician's Choice 60 billion probiotic. It's very simple, one capsule a day. Physician's Choice is the #1 best-selling probiotic on Amazon with more than 140,000 reviews. It supports your gut, immune, and digestive health. You can feel less bloated, less gassy, more regular, and lighter. Developed with a team of doctors and made in the USA with a no questions asked 60-day money-back guarantee. Just go to Amazon or physicianschoice.com and use code PCPodcast10 for 10% off your entire order. Now, you'll get your best results after a month or so, so invest in your gut. Subscribe and save for up to 40% off your order. You can also find Physician's Choice at your favorite retailers. So let's talk about craft. How do you define craft?
So my challenge to young people is to not just look for a job, but in order to have your best shot at happiness and success, to pursue two things, a craft and a need, and to marry them, because it's when you combine them that things get really magical. So let's start with craft. A craft is a special expertise or skill, something you know how to do that other people don't. Surgery, very obvious craft, but also look at like writing really great recipes. Like Ina Garten's recipes work every time, and that's because they are incredibly well crafted, including for people like me who are not especially talented home chefs. Craft can be writing a great TV show. Craft can be psychotherapy. Craft can be designing an advertising or a PR campaign. The reason you want to have a craft, a couple of reasons. One, this is what distinguishes you in the workplace. It prevents you from being treated as disposable or interchangeable. Any employee can be fired. The job market is cruel. We know that. But your craft can never be taken away from you. And even in the age of AI, I think, especially in the age of AI, it's important to have craft because you want to be in charge of the technology. You don't want the technology to be in charge of you.
That's right.
The other thing to say about craft before we move on to need is that it's very hard to know this when you're 22 years old. Listen, there are plenty of 22-year-olds out there who are brilliant and accomplished and have great grades and test scores, but they don't have craft yet because craft takes years to accumulate. Yes. And so what they can't see is that practicing craft at a really high level is intensely pleasurable and satisfying. It feels amazing to take something you've been learning to do for 20 years and deploy it in a really powerful way. That's how I feel now when I put a story into the paper. And so if you are after like true job fulfillment over time, I want you to have craft.
Let me ask you a question. In this show and in my forthcoming book, I talk also a lot about your strengths and your innate strengths. Some people obviously have a strength that is very unusual. A lot of us have strengths that can be applied in many different ways. What is the relationship between the things that come easily for you, your strengths, your superpowers, and how you build and pursue that craft over time? Like,
Well,
can you pick a craft that's really hard for you? And that, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of the great crafts are really hard. Like nobody starts out being good at surgery, or investigative journalism or like
That's right. But you have strengths that lead you to that place
I
where,
think that's right. I think if the way I would start to find your craft is to start noticing which tasks really turn you on. I would buy a cheap notebook, write it down, keep a list, notice yourself. If there are any young people listening to this, like as you go, or if you're looking to make, some sort of career change, as you go about your work or your extracurriculars or your classes, I would literally write down, this was a meeting I loved. This was this task that I did from 10 to 11 a.m. gave me a really satisfying feeling. I would also write down what is really repellent to you, like not just uncomfortable because it's new, but what is really leaving you feeling dead inside.
that's right.
I know I'm a law school dropout, and I dropped out of
Harvard Law School
because Harvard Law School, because in part, like legal tasks just left me. I mean, they sapped me. They didn't fill me up. So anyway, I would notice what you feel drawn to, but I would also be aware that truly learning craft can get you beyond any point you ever anticipated. I mean, I didn't even really know what investigative journalism was when I became a journalist. And it took me many years of learning to even get to the point where I could take that on as a craft.
Well, if we could take a little funny detour, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't funny at the time. In your commencement address, you talk about actually getting fired from the school newspaper, the Columbia Spectator. A great irony now, since you are a highly respected journalist. How did that shame experience affect your foray into your craft?
It's such a great question. It affected it negatively. So the story's in the book if you're interested, but I was fired from my job as columnist at the Columbia Daily Spectator when I was a senior in college, essentially for asking too many questions. And it felt horrible. I felt like everybody on campus was looking at me. And also it made me hate journalism. I was like, who would ever want to be a part of this capricious, chaotic, unfair system? And part of why I think I went to law school is that I was like, well, I mean, journalism's impossible anyway. And now, I mean, why would I ever want to be a part of this? But I think what's important to say about the shame experience, Maura, is that I meet so many young people who think that their entry into the workplace has to be technically perfect. That it's almost like one of those Olympic dives where you have to, enter the pool perfectly with no splash. Like if there's any splash, if there's any mess, you've failed. And I don't think that's true. Like, that's not true. It was not true for me. I belly flopped into the workplace, both by getting tossed off the Columbia paper, then dropping out of law school. But also the reason I can say even more generally and convincingly that it's not true is that that kind of struggle is often what sets the stage for growth and success.
Yes.
And so you like this idea, one of the main things I take on in the book is the idea that you're not going to struggle, or that like struggle is something to be avoided. Struggle is how we become who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm really thinking of your listeners in particular, because it sounds to me like a lot of your listeners have faced genuine obstacles and, you know,
And shame.
And shame. And I'm not, I mean, I am not recommending or justifying those, but I will say that the question of how you deal with those negative forces absolutely makes you who you are. I mean, that is the formative stuff. And if you look back, like, I mean, it's interesting. Like what I have done, would I have come as far in journalism without that early struggle? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, you know?
Why?
Because I think it put fight in me. Like, I think I wanted it. I'll tell you one thing, which is that Columbia Spectator story is not the only time I've experienced shame as a journalist, because like to be a journalist and take on difficult topics is, you know, it means that a fair amount of time people are going to be screaming at you, telling you you're an idiot. Or, I mean, I find that bad and naive are the main two labels thrown at me. And so there were times earlier in my career where like there were certain things I could have done better, or there were certain things that were completely unjustified. But there were days back when Twitter was really big. There were days when it felt like everybody on Twitter was screaming at you. And
They were.
they were. It was bad. I didn't like that culture. I wish it hadn't happened. But I think it forces you into a stance where you say, okay, let me have like an honest reckoning with this criticism inside my own head. Let me do some learning about, you know, what I might have done better here. And then you just throw everything else into the Hudson River. You know, you just take all the negativity and all the haters, and you really try to walk away from that mentally. And then I think when the Weinstein success came, and in 2017, you know, the story goes crazy and it causes a global reckoning. And Megan and I get all this praise and recognition. And like you were nice enough to use the word hero at the start of the podcast, we were treated like heroes. And I think those earlier experiences of shame really grounded me, to be honest, and made me see that, look, celebration is better than accusation and a lot more fun. But like these perceptions are all a little arbitrary, right? Like journalists ride this carousel of either being treated like heroes or villains. And in the middle of it, you've just got to keep doing the work.
It's the work. So I think craft is a value, and I think that's why it's so important in the age of AI, and why I love you bringing it up. One of my very first bosses, Nancy Evans at iVillage.com, she had been a journalist forever. She edited a couple of the big, remember the Seven Sisters magazines? I think she edited Ladies' Home Journal or Red Book. And she said to me, Maura, always have your work.
Yeah.
And that has stayed with me for 25 years, because to me, craft is a true value I hold very dear. It's a way I want to live my life. It's not just a skill. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, no, absolutely. But I also want to get to need, because I think
okay, let's get to need.
Really work. We have to pair it with need. Here's what I would say. I look back at, you know, my 51 years on Earth, and I see a long history of people being given kind of like bad conventional wisdom-ish advice about what they supposedly had to study. When I was in high school, it was learn Japanese, and we were all told that the Japanese were going to take over the world economy. If we didn't learn Japanese, we were going to be losers. We were going to be left behind. Meanwhile, that did not turn out to be true. The Japanese stock market slumped and didn't
Right.
recover for 30 years. Um, the then it was learn genetics, then it was learn Mandarin, then it was computer science. And listen, all of these are great pursuits. I'm not knocking anybody who has studied, one of these things. But the idea that there's some sort of sure bets or golden tickets that's not sound, right?
No.
These things have a way of turning out very disappointing. And I think they're herd thinking. And so what I want to ask everybody to do, but especially young people, is can you define a need instead? Meaning using your own independent judgment, your eyes and ears, can you name a need that you somehow want to use your work to fulfill? It could be information, it could be a product, could be a kind of care or service. But when you have a need, like the need I am fulfilling is for accurate information. A need doesn't have to be, we think of need as being altruistic, but it doesn't have to be, right? It can be business based. It doesn't have to be a heavy thing. Like I have lots of friends who are doctors who are fulfilling, needs
Right.
for medical treatment, but also like my brother makes outdoor pizza ovens and he's fulfilling
That's so cool.
the need for fun and pleasure, which is that's a real need too. So when you have correctly identified a need, you have a better chance of your career feeling like a rushing river carrying you forward, and less of a chance of feeling like you're painfully paddling against the stream. And the last thing I want to say about need is that young people are being given a horrible message right now, which is that they're superfluous. They're being told that AI is going to do entry-level jobs for them and that paralegals are not necessary and that business analysts are not necessary.
Right.
And listen, I don't know what's going to happen with those individual jobs. Like there's obviously some truth to the idea of AI doing lower level work. However, the idea that young people are not needed is a really damaging statement, and it's not true. Like we all know that the workplace needs a fresh infusion of ideas and energy, and that young people are vital for thriving.
Right. Right. We need, it's like we need immigrants to power our economy as well, right? It's about to be summer. It's such a great time to start that business that you've been dreaming of. Get started with your own design studio with Shopify, the most trusted name in e-commerce. Shopify has ready-to-use templates to make your store beautiful. And you can accelerate your efficiency, whether you're uploading new products or trying to improve existing ones. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write your product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance photography. And if you're building your brand, it's like you have a marketing team behind you, right? You can create email and social media campaigns to let your customers know about you. Start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing. Sign up for your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/anxiousachiever. Go to shopify.com/anxiousachiever. If you listen to the show, you know that we have a lot of emotions about money. And for some of us, myself included, money is an anxiety trigger, right? We worry that there's never going to be enough of it. And that's why I love Monarch. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, savings goals, and spending. And you can get your first year of Monarch Core for half off, just $50, with promo code Achiever. It's like having a financial advisor and you can see your money. Most apps only tell you what you've already spent, but Monarch helps you set goals, map out big purchases, and see if you're actually on track before it's too late to adjust, which is very cool. You're not looking in retrospect. They have AI insights so you can spot things you might not even think to look for and see where your money is really going. Use code ACHIEVER at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code ACHIEVER. So save up for that big vacation, plan your future, understand your cash flow, and feel less anxiety with Monarch. My last question for you is something that may not be in the book, and I don't think it's in your wonderful commencement speech, which I recommend everybody listen to.
Oh, thank you.
It's a question for employers.
Mm.
You have been a witness to the workforce, as you said, for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get a private room with the CEOs, you probably could get a private room with this top 50 CEOs in this country, what would you ask them to change or to think about?
Oh, it's such a good question. It's a really challenging question for me because as a reporter, I don't see it as my job to like tell people what to do. I think sometimes I think the appeal of my work to other people is that in a very loud world in which everybody's telling everybody how to do everything else, that's like not my job. And I refrain from it because it can interfere with my job. Can I make a switch?
Yeah.
In your question from let's get away from CEOs and let's do college presidents. Is that fair?
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Because so there's a big debate happening right now. It's not pretty.
Mm-mm.
Given this very tough entry-level employment environment, a lot of people are pointing a finger at colleges and career counselors at colleges and saying, you have failed. Like, how come you are not helping more with job placement? Look at what tuition costs. Look at the loans people are taking out. How can colleges not do a better job of preparing?
And I have to tell you, Jodi, I have a junior in high school. We've just literally probably been on 10 college tours in the past 2 months. You feel like they're trying to like compensate for that answer at the tour.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, that now they're all like, we opened our new AI center yesterday completely.
Totally.
So yeah, so you're hearing this debate too. But I would say that there's actually still a lot of resistance within academia because academia is like not about finding jobs. Like these, most of these, some of them are very good at career services, but at most universities, these are places geared towards very high level scholarship. And something like career services is a side dish for them. And so a real question and dilemma is what universities should do, how big they should go, how far they should go, whether they should do anything in the first place. What I would suggest is that, first of all, they just really familiarize themselves with what's happening in the entry-level job market to have some empathy, for what graduation means this season, because it means something very scary for a lot of these kids. The second thing I would ask them to do is begin college with a conversation about finding your life's work. It's not that, some of the pushback is saying, listen, colleges can't find jobs for people. That's not realistic. And I get that. But at too many colleges, not all of them, but too many, there's really no sophisticated discussion, say freshman or sophomore year, about here's how you hack college. You find your life's work, right? Like, here's how you can use this time, and here's how you pace yourself, and you don't have to have it figured out by sophomore year, and, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing that I think they could be doing a better job of is connecting students and alumni. It's not that. Where did you go to college, Maura?
Oh, I went to Brown.
And does Brown do a good job of connecting students and alumni?
Well, I went 100 years ago, but I have been an alumni mentor at Brown for many years.
That's amazing.
It's awesome. I love it. I love it. Shout out Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship.
That's great. That's great. So that's wonderful. And I think it's not the case for everybody.
I think it's not the case for everybody.
Right. And so I think that's another thing that they could do. And the reason it's important is that in the age of AI and these kind of digital applications, like we haven't, hiring, we were talking a couple of minutes ago about how hiring is being digitized and people are doing AI interviews. Personal connections and networking, more important than ever.
100%. 100%. And I think hope, I think hope, just to end where we started. So if I'm graduating from college next week or in 2 weeks, what's the first thing I should do, Jodi?
I'm going to read you that I think is the most important paragraph in the book. It's short. Okay. Page 13. Do not give up before you even start. Frustration and disappointment are certain. Failure is possible. But if you abdicate the search for satisfaction now, you will put it further out of reach. Resist the urge to arm yourself with uninformed cynicism, masking as oh-so-wise pragmatism that's really just good old fear of rejection. We do not yet know what the world will offer you.
I love it.
Just don't give up before you start. I mean, I know that I get why there's a lot of apprehension and why there's, a lot of negativity towards the workplace, but we don't know the outcome yet. Actually, the Wall Street Journal published a story last week saying that the hiring outlook for entry-level workers is actually brightening a little bit right now. It's still a tough environment, but it's getting a little better. And I can just tell you as a reporter, like as somebody whose job it is to manage knowledge, we don't know what your future is going to look like, what the future of work is going to look like, and you have agency. If there are bad numbers out there, those aren't sentences. They're not your destiny. You still have agency.
That's right. You still have agency. We have to let go of the need to know, as my colleague Charlene Lee says.
Exactly.
Jodi, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure to be with you. Thanks, Maura.
Thanks, Jodi. That's it for this week's show. If you like the show, follow us and tell your friends. And please leave us a review. It really helps the Anxious Achiever get found by people just waiting for our content. I'm your host, Maura Aarons-Mele. Lots more to come in the next episode.